Now we got it. Yeah. So today, welcome. Today is probably the most important day session that we've had because cleansing is something everybody understands. And it's like they got to their last day, they finally made it. But it's the integration week that follows that really has the impact on what you've done. You've kind of set the tone and the pace for something to happen. And now what comes after is where the work really happens within the body. And it can go one way or the other, depending on the way in which we integrate back in. So the value of this session is going to be really huge. And we'll go ahead and get started. And again, just those of you who are, if I have to pause the recording at one point, I'm counting on my Pitta minds to just say, hey, did you start the recording again? Thank you very much for doing that. Let me just pull up my notes. Got a lot of really great notes for us today. Okay, just want to check. Oh, let's see. All right. Hold on one second. I kind of, somebody is in having trouble figuring out the right space. Just sending the link. Okay. Yay, the big wins. All right. Great, Michelle. Thank you. Okay. All right. So let's go ahead and continue. Hi, Tana. Hi, Tana. Nice to have you. Glad you can make it. And then if any of you have your friends or sisters who haven't made it in yet, and just pop something in the chat so I can pay attention if I need to share a link or something. Okay, so this is really important. I was kind of mentioning it before we all gathered in. So when you come off of a mono diet, and really any cleanse for that matter, it's really the same thing. There has to be this integration, but I'm going to speak on in terms of Ayurvedic mono diet cleansing. And when we go deeper into what we call panchakarma cleansing, and I'll talk a little bit about that idea as we go into our session today. So if it's done improperly, the body and the mind system will become more toxic than when we even started the cleanse. So the digestive system and what we've done right now, and this is the purpose, is we're turning the dial down so that the body can clear out this gunk that it's built up over the season. If we have, it's been a season since we've done an Ayurvedic cleanse, or in some cases, if we've never done a cleanse like this before, that gunk is built up and absorbing. So we're cleansing out the gunk and we're allowing our body to absorb the nutrient-rich food that we're taking in so we can build strong tissues. Now, if we begin throwing into our system, let's say meats and heavy creams, yogurts, pizzas, coffee, alcohol, sweet rolls, etc., the body cannot handle this at this moment right now. And so it immediately begins to build up the ama, or what we've learned are toxins. And this can be, and which this is what we've been working diligently this last week to clear out. And so we want to really much pay attention to that food program that we started with that first week. And this is where that's going to become critical and essential. I'm going to talk to you about how to gradually integrate it instead of throwing a bunch of stuff into your system that's going to get your system, again, in this little more toxic buildup. So if we do it right, so we build our body digestive system so that it's strong, so that when we have the opportunity to have the meats and the creams and the pizzas, the caffeine, alcohol, sweet rolls, etc., whatever your pleasure is, during that appropriate season, your body will process it and you'll you won't feel the side effects. You won't feel that lethargic, bloated, oh, why did I eat that kind of feeling from indulging. You have the right amounts and you'll thoroughly enjoy these treats like you've never enjoyed them before. That's the big bonus benefit. You're not expected to eat kitchari only for the rest of your life. You're expected to use this as this wonderful mix of formula to really help support the body into having a proper absorption system, having a proper digestive system, and to work in the way that it's supposed to work for you. And to indulge when we want to indulge with no guilt, but pleasure only. That's the best benefit. So just kind of hitting on that a little bit. So why do we indulge? What causes us to indulge? And then we indulge in out of control. It's simply one of the layers. If you remember, one of the last layers in the sequence of the digestion process to be fed is the nervous system. So if we have a strong digestion process, if we don't have a strong digestion process, this system cannot function properly. So what do we happen? What do we experience? Then we move into those states of mind that are anxious, overwhelmed, worried, fearful, frustrated, resentful, angry, moody, depressed. Our nervous system innately knows that sweet is the taste that nourishes, calms, and rebuilds tissue. And you're going to learn a little bit more about the 6 tastes today. I'm going to lightly touch upon it. And so that is the taste that we need. So you are all intuitively, we are all intuitive when we kind of gravitate to those heavy carbs and sweets because that is exactly the taste. However, the reactive mind jumps in and knows that that's where we can quickly get those simple sugars instead of going to the right spices, the right foods that will nourish us. With that sweet taste. And what we think of as sweet is not really what the reactive simple sugars are. So it's a quick response to have, and what we get is a minimal calming effect. And in fact, we might probably get a dulling, lethargic effect with those types of sweets. And then they build poor quality fat and muscle tissue that gets stored. And so a body under stress, the body is in a storing mode and not in a generating mode. The body innately knows that it needs to conserve energy under stressful times. And so that's kind of that whole process of how we can pack on extra weight when we're in that mode. Innately, we're going, okay, I need the sweet taste, but let's get it quickly. So now I want you to have a better array and choices and knowing this is what's happening. Now I need to bring in the sweet taste, but let's do it in a way that really builds a strong metabolism. Okay. Let's go ahead. I want to hear, let me share my slides first. Is that making sense to you, what I just mentioned? Any thoughts or ideas coming up from what I just said? Anyone want to share? Michelle, thank you. Totally. Appreciate that.
I mean, okay. I can share whatever's there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. Right after my cleanse, I had these cravings, and I was the one who had a little bit of meat and yogurt. And it's the mind coming back is so fast. The chatter again, it was pretty fast. So I was like, whoa, slow down. So that makes complete sense what you said. Like,
yeah. Thank you, Sabine, for sharing that. And that's one of the reasons we talked about that the meditative practice every day is what supports this, because your pitta minds are going, okay, I get it, I understand, I'm going to do it, and I'm going to do this task, and you tell me what to do, and that makes sense, and I'm going to do it. But the vata mind comes swirling around, even the kapha mind comes swirling around, and we need to keep that neutral meditative mind so that we can stay on track and we can see the bigger picture and not get caught up into the whirlwind of those anxious, anxiety, kind of overwhelming feelings. Michelle is sharing, she says, I'm off the wagon completely on the cleanse, but it was to be my second cleanse in 6. As she had much ama. After 3 days of kitchari, I've been sleeping so well, which I've not done for years. Awesome. There's so many benefits that we have when we have the cleanse. That is, you just can't equate it and say, well, everybody's going to sleep better. It's like whatever is coming up for you the most is going to, it's going to show up in your face, and then you're going to move through it. Tana.
Just want to give some experience that I had since I started so late. The first day, no problem at all. I didn't, was drinking my hot water and doing my 3 meals and a snack, no problem. Second day in, I had to go to a work meeting, and they had a potluck. So it was really hard. It was the breakfast one. And, I really like fruit in the morning. So it was hard not to reach out and get some of that fruit. But I worked through it. I had, everybody else was having their breakfast. I was having my kitchari. So, but, I didn't have any problem after that. But in the afternoon, I was kind of having a craving for other foods. And, but I didn't fall off the wagon. So that was good. The first day, I did have to cook because it was my day to cook. So I cooked for my family, my nephew and my husband, and I made pork chops with Brussels sprouts and rice. And I did have a taste of the pork, just like 1 or 2 bites, just to make sure it's cooked. But the rest of it, I was fine. I had my breakfast this morning. I'm not having cravings. But I didn't have a BM until like this morning. I'm not a daily kind of BM person. It's every other day. So I hope, I guess I was expecting more of a, the excretion on a daily basis, but it's not happening for me.
It will get there. And I'm going to talk a little bit about that. And I'm sure it's important to have it every day. And so that's one of the things that are starting to balance. And it just depends on whatever our imbalances have been, how long they've been there. It takes some time for us to readjust it. So I'm definitely going to talk about that. Thanks so much for sharing that, Tana. And I know there was one other, Pam, she traveled to Atlanta, which is about 6 hours away from she is. She went to an art show and she was meeting her family, and she was like, what am I going to do? What do I take? Do I take my kitchari and sit it out at the restaurant? And she goes, I don't want everybody to blah, blah. She was going through all this. So we were kind of talking through, the options that she could do. And she and her sister are doing this together. So her sister put it in a container that did seem kind of unassuming, and she took it, and nobody said anything, and they kind of smelled it, and a couple people taste it, but it was not a big deal. But all of those things are considerations because it's part of our life, and we do want to continue. And that's part of what this is. It's why I do this, is because the other way to do this is when you go to a spa. When you go to a spa, you're there for a week to 2 weeks. And we have Ayurvedic spas, and they're doing, the deep cleansing. And you don't have to make the food. You don't have to do anything. They have the meditation space. You go in there and you meditate and you do your yoga and you go walking in nature and you have all kinds of treatments, and the food is prepared and brought to you, and you step out of your life. So there's a whole deep part of that. But that's not always possible and real for everybody to get out of their life in that way. And so that's why with this, I've been doing this for the last few years. And I've just seen the changes that it's happened, one, in my life and everybody else that I've been working with. So I'm so proud of all of you for showing up and keeping up. This is just a recap of what we did. The first week, we learned about what ama is, our food list, and what a mono diet is. We looked at the kitchari recipe deeply, how to make ghee, starting the cleanse. Today, we're going to look at integrating the food, how to increase our metabolism, because that's critical. That's the name of the game, is we have to get that digestive power up. And we're going to continue on. So today we'll do a little, I think I want to continue. We started continuing to share a little bit. So I want everybody to get that voice. And there's 10 of us here today. So we're going to look at the Ayurvedic guides to healthy eating. I shared that last week. We're going to look more at what those experiences are. And I think I kind of want to transition in that because I don't want to, there's so much today and I don't want you to miss any of it. We're going to look at integrating your dosha food program. We're going to look at each spice and how the herbs and the spices are critical. So we're going to look at each spice that we had in the kitchari, and then I'm going to share a few spices additional that I want you to begin adding into your regular meals and routines. What you're going to do this week, the homework. We'll have questions, and then the special offer for this group only continuing. There's a fly that came in here. I don't know if you can hear him. He caught in when I was bringing my dog and he suddenly keeps buzzing in my ear. So I hope you guys aren't hearing that. I'm going to skip this part because I'm going to integrate it into the next. I want everybody to share in the next group. We kind of started sharing our successes, and we're going to kind of have that blend into the next thing I want to talk about. And I think I want to talk about it as a whole group instead of doing a breakout. How does that sound to you guys? Okay. Great. So I want to take a look at, let's see, am I missing any comments? Okay. Okay. Michelle is asking me, I'm not going to talk about cardamom today, Michelle, because there's a lot of spices I'm going to talk. We can talk about that separately. But that's a great question. Oops, where do we go? Okay, let me just move this a little bit over. You guys can all see my slide pretty good, very clearly. Okay, excellent. All right, so this is really important. This is going to be one of the keys that we want to continue to focus on as we move into integrating. It's the guides to healthy eating. So I asked all of you to kind of pick and choose which ones seem to be the most doable for you during this week. And so I'd like you to talk about which ones. I'd like everybody to kind of share briefly, just maybe take 30 seconds, share which one or ones you worked on and what the success was of that, and how that worked for you. And I'm just going to kind of go down the list that I see here showing up, if you don't mind. Debbie, can we start with you?
Okay. I realized that I was kind of getting sloppy on some of these, and so I had to be more purposeful about it. So I find that, the number one, taking slow breaths and saying grace, I just have totally forgotten that. And so that I started that one again. The ones that I'm real successful with are eating until 75% full, resting and digesting after the meal. The drinking the liquids, that was a big change, but that one works for me. And no cold drinks is okay. The rest of them I pretty much follow. And so I have to really work hard to make sure to make it a calm environment. And chewing my food slowly. I'm still into my teacher mood where I just wolf everything down unless I stop and think about it.
Okay, great. Thank you for sharing that, Debbie. We're going to find that when we consistently integrate these, and some of them it takes time, some of them might be completely foreign, like, wow, I never thought about that. I've been doing the complete opposite. Without these, we're building up the toxins automatically, even if we're eating what we consider to be the most nutritious and well-balanced foods. This is part of what helps us to have a strong digestive process, and we can eliminate 75% of what we might be experiencing as symptoms and conditions, chronic conditions right now. So this becomes so important no matter what the food is that we're eating. Sabine, do you want to share what you worked on with the guides this last week?
Yes. So I have been doing 75% full, and let's see, drinking water, warm water, a little bit of it. And I also still have some digestive from previous cleanses. So I've been using that consistently with every single meal.
Oh, excellent. I might want you to talk more about that when we get to
Okay.
herbs and spices.
And definitely no cold drinks. And yeah, I've been pretty much following all of it except for, I think I'm missing this grace part, just taking a few deep breaths. I didn't do it consistently, but yeah, this was extremely helpful because I wasn't following any one of these before I started the cleanse. I had forgotten about all of it.
Oh, excellent.
So thank you.
Yeah, the number one, it's not number one by accident. 3 to 5 slow breaths or saying grace, it immediately allows our system to go from sympathetic nervous system to parasympathetic nervous system. That's critical. There's no digestion. The digestion is turned off if the mind is on and we're in active mode. If we are not present with the food, remember, guys, folks, every single bite you're taking is going to become a part of this whole system. Every single thing you eat. And if it's off, if that sympathetic nervous system is on and you're in active mode, working mode, talking mode, reading mode, doing this and not in any way interacting with your food, that digestion, that absorption is not happening. The toxic buildup is happening, or whatever is not built up in toxins is going into waste, and very minimal is going into nourishment. And you know, the evidence of that is when we have chronic conditions, when we have sleep issues, and when we have the mind is in that stress mode, that overreactive stress mode, that worry mode, that overwhelm mode. And so this, I think, number one is one of the most critical things, is to get us just focused on that relationship we have with the food, that whatever's in your plate is becoming part of this mind and body, hands down. Dennis.
I only have a problem with 2 of those. The others I've always done pretty naturally, except for the one, but I've been into slow breathing lately, so that's no problem at all. The 2 that give me a problem would be 2 and 5, of course. Eat in a calm environment with little distraction, and rest and digest 15 to 20 minutes after each meal. That is very tough for a maniac like myself. I've got to, I eat, oh, there's this, what, okay, I'm really working on that one. And it's very helpful, especially I may not get 15 to 20 minutes after each meal, but if I can get in 5, I'm happy, because it's usually maybe 5 seconds. And, I eat and I'm off to do something. So that's my biggest issue. But it's great advice to do that, though. Obviously, the digestion is going to work.
Yeah, 100%. That's the other bookend of it. It's the beginning of the breath, and these 2 are, from all of the patients and clients I've been working with over the last few years, and with myself, those are the 2 most difficult ones. Those are the 2. They seem like they're so easy, but they are the most difficult. So thank you for sharing. Tana, how about you?
Oops. I have to agree with Dennis. For at least for me, I like routine, so it's good. But during the weekdays, I work, and lunch starts about noon, which is perfect timing for me. I'm a nurse, so I'm on the floor, but I have my own office. So I can eat without distraction until the distraction comes when they need me on email or something. And the rest and the digestion is also an issue. If I don't have anybody bothering me, I can just sit, and be with myself or whatever. But those 2 are the main things. Now on the weekend, so today's my 3rd day, and tomorrow will be my 4th day. That won't be as much of a problem because I won't have the distraction of work.
Yeah, great. Yep, that is definitely something that we work with in this group. Thank you. Beth, right.
Hi. So I just wanted to say that the cleanse was great. Day 3, I was having a lot of uh, clearing in my sacral chakra, so that was really uncomfortable. And I was thinking, oh, maybe should I not be doing this? And then the next day it cleared. So then I was like, oh, I should be doing this, and this was exactly what I needed. And then by the 4th and 5th day, I started to feel heat in my cheeks for the first time, and there was like color, pinkness in my cheeks, which I know is related to the lungs because I have some autoimmune stuff, and
Mm.
so the lungs are affected. So then I realized my lungs are clear, and so now my face feels warm, which is it feels so good. So I'm going to extend the cleanse 2 more days.
Oh,
Um,
excellent.
yeah, I want to continue it this weekend. Um, Everything feels amazing. And one of the reasons I had digestive issues is because of what you were saying. I was just always eating on the run. I wouldn't sit down and connect with my food. If I was sitting down, I was with a phone in front of me or on the computer working and eating mindlessly. And overeating, not really tuning in to what my body wanted, just going with whatever my mind wanted.
Yeah.
Um, just really not very conscious of what I was doing. So I also yesterday on the 5th day, I was at the store and I saw these figs, dried figs, and I bought a big bag of figs. And then in the afternoon, I ate a dried fig. And then I was like, oh, that was so good. I'm just going to have another one. And then I had another one. And then 45 minutes later, I had to lie down for an hour because I got tired, that sort of sugar high or crash.
Yeah.
So I was like, so then I'm glad I did that because it showed me what to avoid and how much I need to take care of this current situation. It's like my body's a treasure and I've
Mm.
just created this treasure and
Yeah.
now I have to protect it, you know? So, so I recovered from the figs, but then it was like, okay, I have to be very mindful of what I'm doing. Maybe one fig would have been okay, but then there was that like frenzy, one more and one more. Anyway, so I'm doing all the things on this list. Yeah, and I'm really grateful that I
Mm.
for this cleanse. I really am. I've done several kitchari cleanses over the years, and this one seemed to have the biggest impact. And I really liked the recipe compared to the other recipes I've had. I just felt the benefits of all the herbs so much more, you know. And I made my own ghee, and I was adding extra ghee to every meal, and it was just really good.
Mm. Thank you
Yeah.
so much, Beth, for sharing. I think that was such a great example of, figs. They seem like what a wonderful, delicious fruit, but it not at the right time. The body isn't ready for it, and the more we pay attention to this, the benefits are just going to continue. And so it seems like a lot. It does seem like a lot and overwhelming. And as we go one step at a time, and we kind of integrate into it, um, we can feel the benefits and we can go, hey, I can do this. And that's what this group is all about. So really appreciate you sharing that, Beth.
Sure.
Lori, tell us which ones you were working on and what your experience was with working on these guides to healthy eating.
Well, two that I really noticed that I struggle with, so I really was paying attention to them this week, was 2 and 3, eating in a calm environment with little distraction. I think I create distraction when I eat a lot, so I'm working really hard not to create distraction.
Yeah.
And then chewing food slowly. because I think I create those distractions, I tend to not think about what I'm eating, but think about the distraction. And so I tend to swallow food before I chew it thoroughly. So I've been wanting to really slow down on that. I also sometimes swallow because I need to take a breath because I breathe through my mouth. And so really thinking about breathing through my nose so I can chew my food more, I think it's big.
Yes. Yes, very good. Thank you for noticing. That's a subtlety, but when we become the mouth breathers, and I will talk more about that as we continue with this group. All these little things that you're noticing that are ways in which it inhibits our digestive process, inhibits our nervous system process, and so the more we kind of notice those subtleties, you're tuning into that. So wonderful. Thank you for sharing. Let's see. Carol, can you share? I know that you're getting started Monday. Anything you want to share about these 10 guides to healthy eating that we talked about? Oops, can't hear you. I just asked to unmute.
Okay, I think I did it.
Got it.
Yeah, I'm just getting started. So I went and bought all the herbs the other day at Sprouts, and I was like, oh my gosh, these smell so good. And they're like, I'm already excited. And I walk in my kitchen and they still smell, and I'm like, I'm excited to do this. Yeah, I'm, like I told you the other day, I'm still kind of in survival mode, and I'm trying to get out of that with this. So, and I used to say grace all the time, and then I just didn't. And then, yeah, the little distractions, and I was working on chewing my food to the same consistency yesterday, and that was kind of cool. But I do tend to not eat my biggest meal between 12 and 2. I like starve myself all day and eat like crazy at like 6 to 10 o'clock almost. So that's not good. And then, yeah, no cold drinks. I'm really working on that. I do drink lukewarm water.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm going to start with the hot water now. And yeah, so yeah, these are all good mindful things to start thinking about. I usually eat with like grandkids or, on the go in my car, in the break room at work. So yeah, finding some peaceful, a calming time to eat. Yeah, I'm going to work on that.
Excellent. And I know you've been doing a great job with no cold drinks. I know that was one of the challenges. And so excellent on that. Thank you, Carol.
Thank you.
And lastly, Chris, which ones were you working on? What was your experience with them?
Good morning.
Hey.
Hi. So I am on my phone, and I am not very good at operating this on my phone, so I apologize.
You're good. I hear you.
Oh, okay, good. So I have been working on the eating in a calm environment with little distraction. I am doing much better at it. I know when we started our 6-month work together last year, all of our classes were while I was at work. You were like, "Are you doing this during your lunch?" And I'm like, "Yeah." So I've really been working on that, and even when I'm at work, because I try to do my biggest meal earlier in the day now. And when I'm at work, I just close my door and I do my deep breathing before I start eating. And it's been working really well when I was at work. I split my cleanse up because I had other commitments already before I knew the dates of this. So I had done 3 days of the cleanse. And then last weekend, we had a lot of company and celebrations of life and things like that. And then I did 3 more days. and then I left on vacation at a wedding. So 3 day cleanses split by a couple of days. It worked pretty well. And I'm doing pretty well with the drinking warm water and drinking my digestive. I still had some digestive as well.
Oh,
and I've really integrated that much more than I had for a while there. That's why I still had some, because I had kind of gotten away from it. But I really like that. And it really does help me calm down. And my digestive has a little bit of sweet flavor to it. So, instead of wanting that sweet treat, I'll just do that. And it really does satisfy me. So with the hot water, and I've been drinking a lot more just hot water in general. I used to be an ice drinker all the time, and I've really moved away from that. Now and then I'll still have a little bit, but not nearly like I used to.
Excellent. Thank you for sharing that. And we're going to get into that digestives that you kind of were alluding to and why that works so well. Thank you all. So just a couple things I wanted you to also keep in mind. In addition to those guides to healthy eating, think about continuing the routines. This is really critical because our lives become hectic and stressful. And so they become, can become chaotic. So when we continue to pay attention to the time that we wake, the time that we sleep, the time that we eat, that noontime, again, as we continue in this group, we're going to talk about what the eating times and why they're so critical for lunch and dinner specifically. And then make sure you're maintaining that 3 to 5 hours between meals. These things can really be your framework, even if you're not breathing or resting after the meals. But when you pay attention to these frameworks, they're going to be what really keeps you going and keeps this body continuing to upgrade where you are from right now, its metabolism, and a meditation every day. And again, I want to invite you. I think I sent you guys the wrong link last time. So I want to make sure that you have that invitation to come to my class. It's every Sunday. It's 10 a.m. on Mountain Time. Let's see if I can find the link that I put up for myself, because I think I had shared a link that was like just getting into the Zoom room last time. Let me see. I'm not seeing it right now. I'll share it later toward the end of the meeting. But make sure whatever that is, this is another critical piece too. So it helps us to manage stress. It helps us to stay in with what we're doing. As far as the guides to healthy eating, we're integrating new things. Sabine, you had a question?
Yeah, sorry, quick question. I'm having difficulty with the sunrise thing because I'm a Vata. I'm supposed to get up at sunrise. It's now at 6:45, 7 almost, and I wake up at 4 or 5. How do I go around that? It seems like it's an important piece.
Yeah. Now, when you say you wake up at 4 or 5, is that because of your work schedule, or is that because
I've been naturally waking up at 4 or 5. So if I'm asleep by 9:30, 10, I just wake up at 4 or 5.
Yeah. And we're going to be talking more about that as we go into the group. But just to answer your question, you kind of got to also go with what's happening. And you and I have talked about the yoga nidra can be extremely beneficial because it's helping the nervous system to dial down and rest and go into rest mode without fully going into sleep mode or trying to force sleep mode. And so I would say if you're wanting to go back into sleep mode, then I would work with the yoga nidra.
Okay. Thank you.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, I actually don't want to go back to sleep mode because I actually get up and start my routines. So yeah.
So I would just get up and start. Don't go against what's happened. Don't feel like you got to pay attention to your body. What is it? Are you drained? Do you wake up and feel like you haven't had enough sleep?
No.
Then I would just continue to go with what you're doing.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yeah, that's part of I'm kind of, I don't know how I'm gonna. That's part of this whole process. Remember, we talked in the very first session that there's the masculine energy of structure. There are rules and there are structures and there are guidelines to follow. It's like the operating manual of the human body, this Ayurvedic system. But then there is also that divine feminine energy, which comes in, it's our intuition. So what is happening in the moment? Am I checking in with my body and going, I'm getting up at 4:45 and I feel like I'm refreshed. I feel like I have a wonderful sleep. I've gotten sleep and now I'm ready to start my meditation practices. And I know it says in the rule manual to get up at sunrise, but I feel really, really good. That's that intuitive feminine energy. Also going, I'm getting up at 4:45 and I feel like I haven't slept a wink. I really need to get to sunrise. Let me do some yoga nidra practice to get and to revitalize my nervous system. Thank you, Sabine. That was an excellent question. All right, so now we're kind of going to get into the heart of the new material today, which is the digestive power of the herbs and spices. So the first four are actually the first three. So when we get into medicinal qualities, medicinal herb therapies, it would be the whole 7 that we're looking at. But the first 3 are what we're really looking at and that we have been working with through this whole cleanse. Carminative, that means it reduces or dispels, gets rid of gas, improves our digestion, increases our ability to absorb our food. And this is what we're really looking at also is removing that ama, removing that toxic buildup. Carminative, Deepana, and Panchana, those are the Sanskrit words that we work with. All right, so I'm going to go down the whole list of the ingredients and then we'll learn some new ones. So ginger, one of our number one, it has a hot quality to it. And Agni, my little arrow, that little arrow is supposed to be there. It increases the Agni. Agni, you're going to get used to that word. That's a Sanskrit word. It's your digestive power, your digestive strength. It gets rid of gas. It clears the toxic buildup. Fresh ginger, for those who more vata oriented, have vata dosha showing up. Fresh ginger is what you want. The ground ginger is too hot. It's too heating. It's too drying. Those that tend toward the kapha would go with can go with the drier. They can go with any spice. We could just throw a bunch of spice in there if you have that kapha imbalance. But you'd want to go with fresh ginger if you're more vata and pitta. There's a lot of other incredible common uses, medicinal properties with ginger. We will go into these all deeply if you continue with the group. But right now, I want you to pay attention to what this does, what this has been doing for your system during this cleanse. And I want you to keep ginger in mind as something for you to continue on a daily, in fact, as many meals as you can into it. And I'll talk about how you incorporate that because it has a very strong taste and maybe you don't want ginger in everything, but I'm going to begin to get you to think about how we can incorporate it and maybe kind of change that mindset of what it can and might not be good in. Next one, our number 2 support team. In fact, these are all fantastic. I call them the support team. Turmeric. So it has a warming quality. It brings that heat in that Beth was talking about. You're feeling that heat. Those of us who are vata imbalance, it's a challenge to get warm. We have cold hands and feet even in the summer months. So this brings in that circulation. It's anti-inflammatory. Agni, again, my little arrow's not showing up. It increases the Agni, your digestive power. It's antimicrobial, and it removes those pathogens. So if, worms or those kinds of things that may have shown up as an imbalance, it also removes and fights those as well. This is one of the most studied herb in all of Ayurveda. This is probably one of the herbs that, you hear about it in mass media. Now, what they do is they pull out the small little part of the herb that they've been studying academically, and they throw that into a tablet. They throw that into teas. They throw that out there in the mass and say, go get your turmeric and it's going to solve all your problems. They have no concept of what the dosage is. This is a very, very effective medicine, but solving your inflammatory issues in a tea are not going to do it. You have to go into medicinal therapy dosages, but having it in your daily intake, in your foods, incorporating it. And one of the reasons it's been so powerful is because it was one of the main ingredients in the kitchari to changing the digestive. Now, In India, they happen to have, 1 to 2 teaspoons of turmeric almost in every one of their meals. And it is one of the lower occurrences of cancer. So there's just so many studies done on turmeric, and they say it's a plethora. It's a panacea. But one of the intelligences of herbs is the whole herb is they're adapted. Some of them are adaptogenic. That means they go into the body, whatever is the issue with the body, it will go and work on that part of the body. So if it has to do with the lungs, and it has also a capacity to work on the nervous system, if there's an issue with the lungs, it's going to go and work on the lungs instead of the nervous system. If there's an issue with the nervous system, it would go and work on the nervous system instead of the lungs. All right, I gave a little bit more information than I was wanting to, but I get so excited and there's so much to share. Okay, pepper. This is a great one too. I have a little bit more to say about pepper too. So it has hot, it's digestion, it dispels gas, it clears the toxic buildup, which is what we wanted to do on this cleanse. It's a diaphoretic, that means it increases sweating. That's another channel of eliminating toxins, that some of us who have more vata imbalances, we have a hard time sweating. And so we need to sweat. It also kills the worms and parasites. So it has that quality too, that anthelmintic quality. And then there's another specialty, we call it a pravab in Ayurveda, when an herb has a specialty that seems like it's counterintuitive to the nature of it. And that pravab is that special Sanskrit word. So I just call it the magic quality that it has. So black pepper, studies show that it increases the bioavailability of turmeric. And that is the problem with turmeric. When you have it on the market and they say, here's a capsule, take your turmeric. Well, turmeric isn't what we call bioavailable in the body. It is almost like running through the body if you're just taking it with those extra tablets that you might get at the store. But it has to be in high quantities, or you team it with other herbs together. And pepper has that, black pepper has that capacity with turmeric, that kind of relationship. But interestingly, the specialty of black pepper is, even though it's a pungent, even though it's hot, it reduces fevers. So that's really interesting. Next one up is coriander. So coriander, it also has this special quality that we call refrigerant. So it's very cooling. It has a circulatory, just like a refrigerator or a refrigerating system that kind of circulates that cooling. That's what coriander does. So if those of us who have a tendency toward excessive heat or hot flashes, adding more coriander, which is the cilantro. So it's either cilantro or the coriander is the seed of the cilantro. It's slightly cooling. It increases our digestive power, gets rid of gas, clears ama and toxic buildup.
It's also good for clearing heavy metals.
Ah, excellent. Thank you. Parsley does that as well too. Excellent. Thank you, Beth. Yeah, if you guys have any experience with any of the herbs, I love it that you share. Fennel. So fennel is cooling. It has a neutral cooling, so that if it's vata, we don't want to get too much cooling. And even with kapha, we don't want it to be too cold, but it has this neutrality which is really great. So that it's great for all doshas. Doshic imbalances. It increases the digestive power, gets rid of gas, freshens the breath. If you ever eat at Indian stores and you know that candy-coated little candies that they have in the dish, that's fennel seeds. Go ahead and have them, because it's great for cooling the system. It's a great digestive, and it also freshens the breath after the really spicy food. All right, mustard seed. Obviously it's warming. It's not excessively warming, but it has a warming quality. It's, again, great for the vata and the kapha doshas. And then with pitta, when there's excess pitta and heat, it's just you turn it down a little bit. Instead of if it calls for, let's say, half a teaspoon, you got to pay attention to your excess pitta heat that you might have a tendency, and just put a 1/4 teaspoon. It clears the ama. It also has a quality of clearing excess fat. This is another of digestive action that we'll talk about it. We call it, it actually has the quality to go in there and scrape the fat tissue that is not high quality and move it into the sweat channels or move it into the elimination channels. Fenugreek, this might have been one of the new spices for some of you. It has a neutral, sweet quality. It has a wonderful, I think of it as a maple syrup smell to it. It builds tissues and ojas. This is our energy reserve. This is what is critical. This is what has been depleted. When we have reproductive issues, where we have, lack of sexual drive, lack of intimacy or dryness, lack of desire, we have nervous system issues showing up. We have tendencies toward that overwhelm, worry, fear, intensity, resentment. All of those nervous system issues are a sign that we are depleted. And we call that in Ayurveda ojas. That's your energy reserve. And fenugreek builds that. It has a specialty to treat diabetes type 2 and lowers the cholesterol. It has this very, again, this is another highly studied herb that it has a specialty in working with that particular condition.
And Christina, this is Chris.
Yeah.
So the very first kitchari I ever made, I couldn't find the whole fenugreek, and I used the powdered.
I remember that.
It was awful. It was so bitter. And then my friend who's from India, she said, I'll bring you some of the whole, because I couldn't find it at the time. And so I made my second round of kitchari. This was months ago, with the whole, and it made a world of difference. It was so much better.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to mention that in case anybody was using or thinking of using the dried and powdered. I wouldn't advise it.
Yeah, I'm so glad you shared that, because sometimes it's interchangeable. There is definitely a difference in it, but like, let's say fennel powder or fennel seed, it's not going to change the quality of the taste that much, but fenugreek absolutely does have a completely different experience. Salt. This is something I want you to get more in tune with. I was talking to one of the other Beths who isn't here today, and we were talking. She was getting ready to integrate, and she was going into lunch with the friends at a restaurant that was, not particularly healthy choices. And I was trying to help her navigate through that. And we were talking about baked potato, and I said, make sure you put the salt and the pepper and the oil on it. What commonly people do when they think they're on cleanses or they think they're on diets is they'll just eliminate all of the oil, the salt, the pepper, the spices, and they think if they eat the plain food that they're really doing something, but they are actually doing the opposite. The body does not have this digestive power to eat that kind of a food, and it just kind of comes in. Particularly, potato can have a higher starch, and it also has a drying quality. Well, potatoes are fantastic with what we call astringency, and they have that drying quality, but you have to have all of the parts and pieces working together. Salt is an incredible digestive. It's also it helps the system absorb. So it's slightly warming, increases your digestion, increases the ability for you to have bring in water, bring in that moisture quality. Now, if you go and you have too much, it has that extreme effect of drying. So we have to have the right amount. And these are different types of salts. Sea salt, earth salt have a little bit different qualities. The one that we've been working with was the pink Himalayan salt, which is much more nutrient rich, and the sea salts. Now I want to bring one that we didn't, and this kind of gives me the transition into what you're going to be doing in the next week, is cinnamon. So I want you to think about adding cinnamon if you don't already. And if you do, I want you to think about what the qualities that it has. So it's warming. It's a circulatory stimulant. So it increases the warmth. It increases the digestive. It dispels gas. It clears out toxic buildup, and it kills parasites and worms. And so this simple, and it also tastes wonderful. Mostly, I can't say, if you don't like the taste of cinnamon, don't think there's something wrong with you. I don't expect that everybody likes everything that and feels that all that warm, fuzzy feeling, but cinnamon typically is something that we like. So it can be one choice. and it's just the one that I'm going to put up here. As we go and continue this group, I'm going to go deeper into more and more herbs that I want you to be adding, and the options of adding them into your foods. Where'd we go? Okay, so regular cleanse, reset for maintenance. What would I like you to be continuing on? What comes next? So I want you to think about maintaining a monodiet cleansing routine. This is what some people do. 2 days a week of kitchari for lunch and dinner, or 1 day a week of 4 to 5 small meals. That's one option of maintaining that. Some folks like to do 2 to 3 days for 1 weekend a month. And then think about this too. An illness is a natural cleansing moment. Your body is naturally cleansing itself. Let it do it. Be okay with it. And the mono diet is very supportive during that time. So whenever I feel something coming on, I go, if I'm even having an appetite other than having broth, I'm going to make myself a pot of kitchari, and that's what I'm going to eat during my illness. And the recovery time, hands down, is so much faster, so much faster. Seasonal cleansing is a must. I really want to get you to understand once we transition to the seasons, the outside environment is affecting the inside environment. So not only do we have to think about changing the food list according to the season if we're in balance, but also think about what imbalances are showing up. So always be thinking about this in Vata season, which is what we are right now. You just did your after September. September 21st is that moment of we transition to autumn. And in Ayurveda, we only think of 3 seasons. Autumn, winter is kind of compacted into one. And then you'll learn in the group, we kind of look at the early autumn and the late autumn or late winter. And we look at early spring, early summer, late summer, and how we kind of change within those. But in the bigger perspective, and you think of then the next season would be Kapha season. That's spring, begins after March 21. And then, we'll talk more about deeper cleansing as we go into this group, what the options are with that. It's not deeper cleansing, I would not say is for everybody at every single time, but it's something, if it's the right time and the right moment, to understand how even more you can go even deeper and affect even more health and vitality changes in your body, if it's the right time for you to be ready to do something like that. And then Pitta, of course, it's when we transition into summer, is the right time to do another seasonal cleanse, just like we did now. So your homework, this is for you to continue with. So you must restart and maintain your digestive power this week. If you're finishing your cleanse, that's the thing you need to be thinking about. So I want you to think about adding 1/4 to 3/4 teaspoon of spice in every meal. You can add it with warm water before you drink the meal if you don't like adding that spice into your food. Here's one option: is you can make cinnamon stick water. So instead of working with the ground cinnamon, you could boil the cinnamon stick water. And we're going to go more deeply into that within this group of the different ways and means and recipes that you can do that. Ginger is one of the prime ones. I want you to think about that fresh ginger, of how to add that into your foods. That's it has such great medicinal qualities and with your digestion and absorption. The food program list, I want you to look at 1 new protein per day. Don't start throwing in all the different types of proteins. And I want you to look at what the proteins are on that list. So think about 1 day for every day of cleanse to reintegrate. So let's say you did 4 days of cleansing. So take 1 new protein. Don't have eggs and ham and hamburger for lunch that whole day. Just pick 1 protein, and then I want you to think about eating the same lunch and dinner meal. So let's say ideally lunch would be your biggest meal, half it or have double, and eat that again for dinner, so that your system isn't overtaxed with a bunch of different foods. And that's kind of the idea if you did the 2 the 2 days a week or one day, let's say work time, it's kind of really great if you have your lunch meal and then you get home and you have that dinner kitchari. Kind of think about it in the same way. You have this lunch and then you get home and that's your dinner. And sometimes folks, folks who are in, the family, working mode, they'll make the dinner and they'll take half of that or a portion of that or make extra so that that's what they eat for lunch the next day. So think about changing and doing that so that your body isn't overworked with so much different types of foods right now. Breakfast, I have a warm spice stewed apple recipe that's going to have all the yummy spices, really kick your digestion. That's what we want to do in the morning, is kick that digestive power on, like really push the power button. Or a sweet rice porridge. I'm going to share both of those recipes with you. They're very easy. They're very simple. And they have a couple different, and all the spices that I'm putting in there are yummy. There's some that are optional if, you want to just pick one and that's the one, because for whatever reason you're not liking the others. Again, every time we put a spice in, it's like a formula, but I'll put little options on there. I want you to try this breakfast for as many days as you were doing the cleanse, integrating, but you can continue as long as you like. They're really great recipes. And the spiced apples in particular is great for women who are in perimenopause, menopause. It has a very nourishing quality to the whole female reproductive system. I didn't, don't worry. I hope you read the mung bean and basmati rice article that I sent you. I'm not going to send that again, but I hope you read why it's a complete protein and why it is so nourishing. Regular elimination every morning. This is the goal, because this is our natural cleansing system. And if it's not eliminating every morning, we are excessively building toxins every day. And so to help you get there, one of the things that you can do is start having hot water and fresh squeezed lemon every morning before you rise. It starts what we call peristalsis. That's the feeling to eliminate. And so if you can start doing that the moment you wake up in the morning, if it's a quarter cup to half a cup, squeeze the fresh lemon, drink it, it begins the system going to go right to the colon. The large intestine and starting that peristalsis. We're going to go just a few minutes over. I hope that's okay with everybody, not too long. We're just nearly at the end. I want to give you the special offer for being in the Cleanse Challenge. So we're going to continue this group 3 months for the next 2 Saturday sessions each month at the same time that we've been meeting. Same kind of format. We're going to be, growing and experiencing other things. We're going to dive deeper into the kitchen herbs 7 action support. So the herbs and what are the 7 actions that they have, and herbs that we commonly will have in our kitchen that we should begin stocking in our kitchen. We're going to learn balancing your dosha at the seasons with life changes. We're going to go into the 6 tastes that should be in every single meal and the balancing act depending on whatever dosha imbalance we have with those 6 tastes. And the 6 tastes are sweet, sour, salty, pungent, bitter, and astringent. And how we can work if we're experiencing perimenopause or menopause or postmenopause, how this whole change of systems and herbs and ways of eating support that. We'll lose weight if that's the situation that we need to work with. So much more. It evolves as you, because all of my group members, they really dive deep into it. You guys come up with these amazing questions that help us kind of direct and go deeper. Because remember, we just kind of got a small slice of a small part of the whole pie of Ayurveda. And we're going to kind of open that up and learn more how the different systems can really support us. The start date is October 19th. Special offer, $97 for the first month for all you sisters and friends, because there's like 3, I think, different groups of sisters and friends who came in. So you guys get $97 for the first month. And if you have a friend or a brother or a sister that you want to bring in, that offer is open to you. It's $197 a month for regular for this group only. I asked for a 3-month commitment to us to start the foundation, and then option to continue monthly after that. So I'm going to open it up to any questions that have come up from today's session, any questions that came up during your cleanse that I haven't answered yet.
Well, I have a question. Does anybody else get an extreme diuretic reaction from cinnamon, or am I the only one?
Well, cinnamon it's heating, Dennis, and it could have that reaction to you. It could be like too much heat in there, and it has a drying quality as well. And you might tend to be on the drying side. So cinnamon might not be the one that your go-to is.
Probably I avoid it after. This must have been 10 years ago. I had been mistakenly eating right before bed a little bit of yogurt, and I would put some cinnamon in it, and that damn McCormick and Schmick people said, "Oh, it's an antioxidant." So I was putting more and more cinnamon. One night, I think the lid came off or something, and too much fell in. But I mixed it up, and I didn't taste it, but I had it. And then I was up probably every 45 minutes to go to the bathroom. And the next day had about a 5-hour spell of vertigo where the world was turning, and I did that. And after that, I said, I think I'll cut back on the cinnamon.
Well, the other thing to consider, and we'll go deeper into the group, it's the quality of the herb. So if it's a cinnamon you got at the grocery store,
yeah,
it has additives and preservatives in it. And then where did the cinnamon come from in the world? One of the best cinnamons is the Ceylon cinnamon. And so these are medicinal qualities. So we'll learn about, and we can get them at our health food stores, and there's all kinds of different places locally that you can get them. But the cinnamon that you're getting in the little shaker is probably low quality, and it could have had something to do with that. But you and I, when we have our session together, we'll talk more about what other herbs. And I would also encourage you with ginger, fresh ginger particularly, and we can talk about other things that we'll mix with you. But thanks for sharing that, because that's important to know the quality of the herbs that you're getting. Tana,
and you just reminded me too. Somebody told me there is something really weird in commercial cinnamon, that some additive, I can't remember what it is, but that could have been the problem.
It could have been.
And also not 2 heaping tablespoons at once. That would be a good thing.
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
So all of these herbs have therapeutic qualities, and the higher the dosage, it's going to have a therapeutic quality as well, just like any drug, any medicine. Tana, did you have a question?
Yeah. So just going back to, the 10 very important things like saying grace and all of that. I don't know what it feels like to be 75% full, but when I divide the food, the cleansing food that I made to 4 to 5 meals, try to divide it evenly, of course. But when I eat breakfast, I feel pretty full, but not like, stuffed or anything. Same thing with lunch and dinner. So is that amount about 75%? Because I can't, I know what it feels like to be overeating.
Yeah. What a great question. Yeah. And that, again, we will even dive deeper into that as well, because it's every single one of those has a huge thing of how we can incorporate, how we learn about it. So you're kind of, getting to gauge it in the right way. Having a 1/4 cup to a 1/2 cup of liquid with each meal is really important, because the belly the stomach area should be full 50% with the food, and then that other little 25% with the liquid to help it churn. Now, excess liquid comes into nausea and that excess fullness. So we don't want any more than a 1/2 to a 1/4 cup, depending on, your body constitution, and then that 50% full. So the stomach can churn. The stomach has to do this. If the stomach can't do this, it's just sitting there like a lump, right?
Yeah.
And so that's a great idea. That's, what you were doing is dividing it up in that way, and kind of when we slow down and we pay attention, because the body is, sometimes I get this wrong. The body is 10 to 15 minutes ahead, or the mind is 10 to 15 minutes ahead of the actual body. When you're not thinking, you're just gobble, 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 your body has already gotten the satiation point, but your mind was not paying attention to it at all. So the more we practice the slow down, the more we notice. And there's all kinds of other little body messages that we'll learn about in the group about how to pay attention. And because that's a hard one. Thanks for asking. Anybody else have any other questions that came up that we didn't talk about yet?
Christina, it's not really a question, but I just wanted to mention that I really embraced that lemon in the hot water first thing in the morning, and I was shocked by how well it works. And I drink lemon water every morning now, and I don't really even crave my coffee or tea. I'm not a coffee drinker much, but I used to drink black tea every morning and need it to get moving and get awake, and now I don't. It's pretty amazing. So I just wanted to mention that lemon water thing really works, at least for me.
Thank you. Thank you so much for saying that, Chris, because the old things that people think, like if I have my black tea, or I have my black coffee, that'll get my BM going, that'll get my mind going. Again, it's that mind message that it's giving us the wrong message. It's trying to figure something out, but it's telling us different habits that are pushing us way out of balance. And so when we kind of switch those to the practices that can really help revitalize our system, we don't have to rely on those things that we thought were keeping us going, because those things were really drying us out and exacerbating a constipated situation. Thank you.
Do you think incorporating caffeine like coffee back into, are you recommending not to do that, or just having it like minimal? Because I do miss the coffee.
Yeah,
honestly.
Of course. There's all kinds of other substitutes and ways to bring that in that we're going to talk about in the group as we go forward. But I am definitely in no way saying if that is something that you feel I want to say addicted, because we are addicted to it, whether it's mentally or emotionally, that you completely get that out of that you eradicate that, because that can cause extra strain too. And suddenly you just, like you went on your cleanse and you did it, but let's say bring in half, like we were talking from the beginning. Let's say instead of that 8 ounces, you have 6 ounces or 4 ounces, or you have have more cream, or have more of, the natural good sugars to support that, because that's really what your system needs, because it does have a drying quality. Caffeine, it really wreaks havoc with the nervous system. It wreaks havoc with all of the systems in the body. For people who are Vata Pitta imbalance, people who are Kapha imbalance, they can handle it. They can handle the coffees. They can handle a cup a day. No problem. They can handle a lot more. But most of us are Vata Pitta out of balance.
Yeah, I don't think I want to introduce, if it's toxic to my body, I don't think I want to bring it totally back. Maybe have it every once in a while, But I can probably do without the coffee, but I did get a side effect from going off coffee. I had a headache for like 2 days.
Yeah.
And I don't want that again.
Yeah. And I don't say you should completely go off coffee. Again, it's one of those things that it's delicious and it's wonderful. And there's all kinds of wonderful, how they make it. And if you get the right high qualities and you enjoy the whole process, but just, going and mindlessly pouring that coffee just because you need to get going, that's the part we want to change. And so if you can just reduce the amount and then enjoy the part that you're having. But, we want to talk about, and we'll go more into it, how some folks should have a whole lot less and some folks can have a whole lot more because of their constitution. And we want to pay attention to that. And just like Chris was experiencing, like I didn't need my tea. I thought I did. And we'll get to a point where like, I thought I needed the coffee. I don't. And maybe when I have a cup a week, I enjoy it so much more. And it's like so surprising. So I hope that helps you navigate it. All right. You're so welcome. I look forward to you guys continuing the group. This has been a fabulous group. So I hope as I talk to each of you individually, I've met with some of you already that, and they're excited about coming into the group and staying with it. I look forward to continuing to working with you all. You're welcome.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good Saturday and Sunday.
Thank you. You too. Sabine, did you want to stay around for a moment? Okay.
Thank you so much
Over and
Thank
out.
you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye, Beth. See you guys next week when we talk. Do you want to take a moment? Oh, let me stop the recording.